This gentleman here I found on another channel earlier. I think it was Shisha Zed's channel. Yeah, he had this gentleman, and I thought I would share the same message because this is a gentleman on TikTok that did something very unique to show women how men think when it comes to you becoming a baby mother. When you enter into motherhood without a commitment from another man. And he's taking you inside the mind of a man. And regardless of how you women look at these things, you have to think about how do men, especially Pookie and Ray Ray, how these men think. Because this is the reality of it here. He's going to be as raw as you'll ever hear. Because most men would never verbalize this. But he said it, I didn't have to say it. But most men would think like this. When he has had sex with a woman, he has no interest in her becoming a wife or the mother of his kids. But if the woman thinks that she's going to do it without his consent, I want you to understand how most men think. That's what we're going to get into. Guys, this is raw, okay? Some of you are going to get triggered, but I want to play it simply because it is real. It's as simple as that. It's freaking real. And this guy lays it out raw and real. Okay, let's get into it.
So I said, having a baby is a bigger commitment than marriage. And you told me, don't be delusional about the subject matter with your black ass. The commitment isn't that deep for most. So having a stranger you raw isn't that deep. And how do you figure that most aren't paying child support for 18 years?
This is the thinking amongst a lot of women in the black community. This has been the thinking from way back in the 70s, okay? When the government stepped in and kicked the man out of the house. It's deep-rooted how women have been thinking like this and for how long, because this is generational problems that we are dealing with in the black community. Don't think this just happened in the US. That mindset also translated over to the Caribbean as well. Okay, I mean, it's a lot more complex than that because it includes that whole slave mentality, meaning black men were never in charge of their women. Men were never in charge of the house because the government and the slave master were the ones that stepped in and took over that role. As we progress into a modern society, women have to understand that the dynamics have changed significantly. She's no longer desired by men if she has a child. So now she's left alone to provide and protect herself. And I don't want my girls to be in that position. But there's a lot of women who still think that they could do it on their own and they can force a man to become a father. Don't ever try that, ladies.
What do you think back child support is called? What do you think getting your license suspended is called? What do you think going to jail because you haven't paid child support is called? What do you think not being able to get a passport because you haven't paid child support is called? Just because they don't give the money to you does not mean that they are not paying and obligated to pay child support. You know what?
And that's what women don't see from the man's perspective. This is why men have to be very careful about where he puts his seed, because these are the consequences of actually being reckless. You cannot just depend on her saying, oh, well, I'm on birth control. You cannot depend on her saying, oh, I'll take plan B if it happens. You can't depend on anything a woman says in order for you to feel safe. The best thing you can do is cover it up. With that, you can say, you know what? STIs, STDs, I'm protected. And I'm protected from having an unwanted child where I have to have 18 years of being stuck with this woman and the government. Now he's going to get into what happens if she decides to proceed with the child thinking that, oh, that's not a big deal for me just because the government covers her with child support. Now she needs to understand the ramifications of where she has placed herself in the man's eye.
Maybe it was the way that I worded the last message, but let's do this. Let's take a third person point of view. This way we can really drive the message home. I am going to take the point of view of the baby daddy, and I'm going to tell you from his point of view exactly how you look. You gave up your market value because once you have a baby, you ain't the same no more. You low-key gave up your mind because When I first met you, you was cool, but now you some crazy ass postpartum ass bitch. Saggy llama titty depressed ass bitch. You gave up looking good because when I first met you, your hair was done, your nails was done, your body was tight, your titties was perky. But now you look sleepy, you look tired. You don't you don't even keep yourself up no more. You gave up your mama and daddy fucking with you because they told you not to fuck with me and you still did because you love me. So you gave up your dignity because when I was cheating on you, you went and fought that bitch. You gave up your self-respect because you took me back. And then to prove a motherfucking point, you let me get you pregnant. You gave me everything you had and I didn't even have to get on one knee and ask you to be with me. Fuck getting married to your ass. I ain't even have to make you my fucking fiance. A fiance ain't nothing but a fucking glorified girlfriend. I ain't claim you in front of my friends, my family. I ain't go out and buy you no motherfucking ring. I spend more on bitches at Magic City on a random Monday night than I've ever spent on you during our entire relationship. You gave up all of that just for me to nut. You ain't even nut. You gave up all of that. And all I had to do was fucking have an orgasm. Goofy bitch, that nut ain't mean shit to me. Busting a nut is a basic male function. As a matter of fact, bitch, if you didn't pick up the phone when I had called you on the first ring like you did, that nut would have just went into that dirty wife beater that was on the floor. Ain't nobody manipulate you, bitch. You knew I didn't fucking want that fucking baby. You knew I was gonna leave your fucking ass. I ain't even ask you to be with me. I ain't even claim you like that. I didn't even give you a motherfucking ring, bitch. I didn't do shit that would make you think that I really wanted you. You made that shit up in your head, and I don't feel bad either. You needed this. If you wasn't no motherfucking mother, you wouldn't even feel like you was a motherfucking woman. Bitch, I made you. First thing you do when you talk about another bitch, that bitch ain't got no kids, that bitch ain't, huh. Yes, she don't. But that's why I want to fuck her. You don't even look the same. Fat and shit. I gave you what the fuck you needed. I made you into a fucking woman. I gave you that baby. You want to take them fucking maternity pictures? You telling bitches you have my son? You got my first son? Bitch, I don't give a fuck about none of that. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm leaving you and that motherfucking bitch. I made you a motherfucking woman because until you became a motherfucking mother, you didn't even feel like a motherfucking woman. But he can marry you and still be the same. You can be a married single mother. Don't get the shit twisted. My ex-wife is my ex-woman. I claimed her as my woman. I committed myself to my woman. My baby mama just a bitch I fucked. Just a bitch I nutted in because she got there right before I nutted in some Kleenex. Learn the difference between a guarantee and a bare minimum. Stop asking a nigga for $100 when he already told you that he ain't got 20. Having a baby is absolutely a bigger deal than marriage. You just don't think you worth shit. So you don't even recognize what the fuck you really gave up. Everything you thought it was nothing more than what you wanted it to be. You gave up all of that just for a nigga to think of you as this.
Yeah. And I'm making my daughters listen to this. Yeah. Why? Because they have to understand the realities of life. I do not sugarcoat life with my daughters. I want them to understand cold, hard reality and the kind of men that she has to identify to stay herself away from. Yeah, simple. Because that, ladies, is what you're going to get from Pookie and Ray Ray. That's why it's important to find a gentleman, a man who's respectful, a man who understands his role as a man, protector, provider. So now, I want to read a few comments from this because the woman, surprisingly, responded quite well. Simply TY says, well, Jesus, that hurt me, and it ain't even for me. Yes. Cass Forever says, this was an epic read. Pew! She's sweating. So women, I think most women don't get it. Most women don't understand how Pookie thinks. They glorify these things and think that, oh, I'm going to have a baby and I'm going to be a mom and, I don't care if he's not there for me. This is the kind of guy you got to look at and say, Jesus, I don't want to have a child for this man. That's my worth after I become a baby mother. Now, am I saying that that's her worth? No, I'm not saying that. guys, I'm not. But this is the reality of the world that we live in, especially in today's environment. But if a woman is that stupid to make a decision to have a child for a man who has this type of mentality, then whose fault is it? T.S. Lanny said, this is exactly how I see it in my head. So thank you for validating that. Crying. Oh, I love how the women are waking up. This is what I like to see, because this is how we will stop women from becoming baby mothers. Marry before you carry. Get a commitment, ladies. Bianca Deshawn says, ouch, I never understood why people think a baby is not a big deal. We are constantly connected with a child even after we raise that child. Even after we pass, our descendants will look back at us. Yes, Jai said, this is why I was honest with myself early and was clear I had never met a man good enough to have children with. Adopting was one of the best decisions. This PSA from the man mind is confirmation. No, this is a PSA from Pookie or Ray Ray, not a gentleman. They're men that will handle their business. They're men that will treat you with respect. But if you force a man's hand into having a child that he did not want, you're going to have a different animal in your hands. That's the message you should take away from this. This woman said, you ain't even nut. Crying. Yeah, that was cold. That was cold. Mika Lolita says, what's sad is a lot of women don't hear this truth until after they've done had the baby. 92 Pearl says, this don't even apply to me, but I'm clutching my pearls. I'm married and I'm still looking at him sideways because Chad. Dang. Yeah, I'll read one more. Ray Baby says, phew, chilly. We all need to replay this monologue out loud whenever we're about to spread our legs. Yes. So my friends, I hope that you understood this message. I'm hoping this gentleman goes viral. I'm hoping that you guys will share this video, because I'm telling you, man, women have to wake up and realize the seriousness of being a single mother. You all have to realize the seriousness of having a child without a father. It is creating chaos